the Federal Reserve Bank, I can't believe that. I mean, people say, don't fight the Fed and all this. Well, my question to everybody is this: can the Fed print oil? Can the Fed print gasoline? Can it print food? But everybody sits there and they've been brainwashed by Wall Street to go, do as the Fed tells you to do. Well, you got to be kidding me. Those guys are the three stooges, Janet Yellen, Biden, and Powell. You got to be kidding me. Why would you listen to them? When Volcker crushed inflation, debt to GDP was 30%. And today it's 125% if you believe the numbers.
Right.
So if he channels Volcker, and the other thing about history will tell you this: there's never been a soft landing. It's more Fed talk. And so that's what I want to talk about with you today, is that there's other ways of looking at investing, but to think that Powell is going to save you, when, as you may know, the reverse repo market is running at $2 trillion a day today.
Right.
$2 trillion a day. And people are listening to Powell? You got to be kidding me. I own no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I do not touch paper. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm saying people have been brainwashed by the Fed, the Treasury, and whatever those guys are. Go to school, get a job, pay your taxes, get a high-paying job, and invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. It was in 1974 when I came back from Vietnam, a two-tour Marine helicopter pilot. I saw communism at work. It was not pretty. And I come back in 1974, they passed ERISA. ERISA stands for 401k right now, or IRA. And I went, oh my God, they're funneling my generation, the boomers, into the stock market. And they don't know anything about money. And in 1974, the biggest exodus, Adam, was school teachers suddenly becoming financial planners. I watched that with horror.
Interesting.
I watched it in horror. That's the poor leading the blind. And today we have baby boomers who are hoping the stock market stays up in their 401k just as Social Security goes bust. You think that's an accident? That's all I'm saying. I'm just a Marine. I'm a dumbass Marine lieutenant. Flew the gunship, went down 3 times. But today I listen to this bullshit and I go, oh my God, how can we be that stupid? Because we went to school, we did as we're told. Don't fight the Fed, do as the Fed tells you. Invest for the long term on a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. And don't worry, Powell is now channeling Volcker. When the debt to GDP is 120%, you gotta be kidding me. So when they were dropping the interest rates, I thought I died and I went to heaven, because I'd buy apartment houses. I own 13,000 apartment houses. Every time the Fed dropped the interest rates, it jacked the value of my properties up, but I also improved the properties and I refinanced out. So today I own no money in any of my properties. 13,000 units, all throwing cash. But that's
so let me just underscore here too. So a big factor of what you look for in an investment is cash flow.
Cash flow, positive.
Yeah, positive cash flow.
It's also called an infinite return. But the other thing too is Rich Dad is a brand now. And I got hammered by the New York Times. It came out 25 years ago, just the time I met you. I got hammered. So you don't know what you're talking about. I said, maybe you don't. Well, I have a master's degree, I have a PhD. So that's what I mean. You might not know what you're talking about. Because Rich Dad never went to school. But my poor dad with a PhD was stood for poor, helpless, and desperate. And he was in charge of labor unions. He was pro-tax. He was pro-tax to rich. Sounds like AOC to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm listening to this and going, my family, oh my God. So in 1965, I leave Hawaii, where I went to school. I go to school in New York, and my economics teacher is a West Point graduate who flew B-17s in World War II. And instead of having us read Malthus and Ricardo and the Malthus, he had us read Marx, Stalin, and Mao. And the theory at military school is know your enemy. So I understand Marx fairly well, the Communist Manifesto, 1848. And so that was 1965, 1966 was my first trip to Vietnam. I'm carrying bombs to Vietnam on a victory ship sailing out of San Francisco Harbor. And then I saw communism first, and I went, oh my God, I could see the future, that we're eventually overrun by communists. And so in 1930, the Frankfurt School out of Germany, which is Marx's institution, sent teachers to Columbia University's Teachers College in 1930. That was stage 1 of communism. And then they had to influence our academics first. And so when I came back from Vietnam, this time I was a Marine pilot and I was flying gunships in Vietnam. As you know, Adam, I was greeted at Norton Air Force Base, spit on, hit with eggs, all these Woodstock generation hippies. I said, man, I fought for you guys. And I lost so many friends in Royal Marine. The saddest days of my life is standing on the deck of my aircraft carrier, and my friends don't come back. You never see them again. Their aircrafts are shot down. They're still MIA. And I get spit on, hit by eggs and all this stuff. But that woke me up, so I started studying more. What is happening in America? So as I said, I use debt now to get rich, and then I invest in hard assets. So that's what we can talk about. My point of view here is, ladies and gentlemen, I would question what you've been taught from school. That's all I'm saying, is what you're talking about. I think you're the guy that said it. They said in a bull market, even idiots feel smart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's one of the best sayings I've ever heard, because I'm listening to all these idiots, after 2011, the market crashed in 2008 because the repo market went bad. And the repo market is the credit of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns was bad. But then when it came back out, they just started pumping money. And what they did was they kept printing more money to save a bad economy. It was already crashing again in 2011, but they kept printing money. And today we're going to pay that price. This is going to be the biggest crash in world history. We are just coming out of the longest bull run in history, 11 years. Started in 2011. And at 2011, I made the biggest fortunes of my life, because that was the MBS, mortgage-backed securities, and the CDO crashes, the real estate crashed. And I backed up the truck, and I borrowed $300 million to buy the best real estate all across the Southwest. Now, and there's other guys like, I forgot the guy says live debt-free, and there's a billion ways to go to heaven. Living debt-free is not one of them. I use debt because debt is tax-free money. So what I did was I'd rehab my apartment, 13,000 of them. I just kept buying more with the cash flow, and I'd refinance out as interest rates dropped. So I'm in good shape now. Then I set all interest rates right now. So I use debt. And who's that guy who says live debt free? Well, that's his opinion. I don't do that. I don't like real estate. I like debt, and I don't pay taxes. Every time I borrow more money to float my properties, there's 3 types of tax breaks. I got appreciation, depreciation, and amortization. So I zero out. So my tax on debt is 0. And I use that tax, appreciation, depreciation, amortizations, all in which I pour debt, to offset tax in my income. So let's say I make $1 million in, let's say, rich dad. I have to buy a $4 million apartment house and I use 100% debt to acquire the apartment house. Then appreciation, depreciation, amortization wipes out my income from my business. When Biden took the Keystone XL pipeline off, my oil I was selling from the ground, which is a tax break also, went from $30 a barrel to $130 a barrel. Today it's like $120.
Yeah.
But oh my God, this guy Biden is going to bankrupt us. I'm not saying him, but there's somebody who wants to bankrupt, because oil is the lifeblood of civilization. I worked for Standard Oil of California as a tanker officer when I graduated from school. I understand oil. I was on the Alaska pipeline and all this. I'm like, he's screwing us. So when he raises inflation, the poor and middle class will go broke. And that was just done as soon as he was being done before he took office. And so I'm looking at this guy's going to sell America down the drain. I'm not saying it's him, but somebody wants us to go broke. And I'm watching this going, oh my God, so what else can so I have oil wells. I get tax breaks for those, because I don't invest in oil stocks. I work for Standard Oil, but I don't invest in Standard. I invest in the oil in the ground. I'm a wildcatter. There's more opportunity today than ever before, but not if you've been brainwashed into going to school, getting a job, paying taxes, live debt free, and invest in the stock market. This bubble right now, there's a bigger bubble than 2008. This is the everything bubble. It's going to be not only stocks, bonds, but also credit. But there's more opportunities going to come out of it. And that's what I'm saying. Be careful who you listen to, because your best asset, but also your biggest liability, are the ideas in your head. And be careful who puts them there.